There was a time when empires were ruled not in boardrooms or by votes, but in the noise and dust of war. One name has become so important in a time of heroes and tales that it will be remembered for generations to come. From the harsh terrains of Macedonia to the vast expanse of the Persian Empire, we will follow the life of a man who, at the age of 30, had constructed one of the greatest empires in ancient history. Around the year 356 BC, Alexander III was born in Pella, Macedonia. People said that King Philip II and Queen Olympias were his parents. Not everyone believed that Zeus, the great Greek god, was his real father. Macedonia became a superpower when King Philip II was in charge. His goal was to defeat the Persian Empire one day. He was a great father and military leader. Alexander showed a lot of bravery when he tamed Bucephalus, a wild horse that would support him in many wars. When that happened, Alexander was only 12 years old. When Alexander was 13 years old, he began to study with the great philosopher Aristotle. Alexander became interested in books, science, medicine, and philosophy because of Aristotle. Although he was only 16 years old, Alexander became king of Macedonia while his father was at war. He quickly showed how good he was at war by fighting the sacred band of Thebes at the Battle of Chæronea. Alexander's troops did a brave thing when they crushed the sacred band of Thebes. Philip II died in 336 BC, and Alexander took over as king. When that happened, he was only 20 years old. He was determined to reign over the world like his father had, so he quickly got rid of anything that was standing in his way. After marching into Persia and making Antipater king, Alexander crossed the Hellespont and fought fights that made him famous. Alexander was very determined and smart during his war, from taking control of the Granicus River to the siege of Halicarnassus. As he traveled, he stopped in Gordium, which was where the Gordian knot was found. Finding the answer to this puzzle would help us beat Asia. For the third time, Alexander carefully considered his actions and used his sword to cut the knot. This demonstrated his unwavering commitment. Alexander fought a huge army led by King Darius III near Issus in southern Turkey in 333 BC. Alexander the Great's life took a big turn in this fight. It didn't matter how many people were against Alexander and his troops, they were ready to fight. They did what they did out of anger, desire, and the allure of Persia's huge wealth. Not only were physical skills tested, but also the ability to plan ahead and be determined. His troops got stronger and better at fighting as the war went on. He quickly left his family because he was sure he would win. Alexander defeated Darius at that battle, and the king, in his panic and confusion, left his wife and family behind. When Alexander went to the family, he showed them respect and compassion, and Sysigambis, Darius's mother, started seeing him as a son. People thought Alexander was very smart because he always won. He thought that anything was possible if you were driven. For this reason, he turned down Darius's peace offers and slowly took over more and more Phoenician towns to show how loyal he was and how smart he was as a leader. The siege of Tyre in 332 BC showed how smart Alexander was. Since he didn't have a ship, he had a bridge built so that he could get to the city on the other side of the island. This brave move led to a huge victory, even though there was a lot of opposition. It showed how tough he was when things got tough. He went to Egypt to achieve his goals. There, he not only won a fight, but also built the city of Alexandria as a lasting reminder of how great he was. There were reports that he went to Ammon's oracle in the desert to ask God to let him rule, which made him seem even more mysterious. Alexander's military effort reached its peak when Darius III was killed by his own soldiers. This happened after Alexander beat Darius III a second time in the Battle of Gaugamela. As a king, Alexander buried Darius. It was a subtle way for him to show respect for his enemy and show how powerful he was. Alexander wanted to take over Persia so badly that he borrowed some of their traditions, like the complicated ritual of pyrokinesis, which was a way to show great respect by bowing or prostrating. He tried to mix cultures, but this didn't go over well with his Macedonian men. They were very attached to their own traditions, so Alexander's attempts to bring his different kingdoms together under these strange rules made them feel uneasy. Alexander's grip got tighter as his paranoia grew. He even fired loyal generals and staff who couldn't handle his mood swings, which hurt his ability to lead. Alexander met Roxane, a Sogdian princess, and fell in love with her while he was in the middle of a long line of military battles. She added a personal touch to his victories and taught him about love and the strength of working together. As shown by his epic fight with King Porus and the sad death of his beloved horse Bucephalus, his unwavering drive also cost him personal losses. These events made him realize how much his desire hurt him personally. Alexander's plan to combine Persian and Macedonian cultures hit its peak at the mass weddings in Susa, where he pushed for his Macedonian soldiers to marry Persian women. His men fought back against this brave attempt to combine very different identities and customs, showing how hard it is to do so. Alexander's death in 323 BC put an early end to his plans to rule the whole world. With no one to lead it, his kingdom fell into chaos and internal fighting, breaking up under the weight of its own diversity. Alexander the Great's rule was short, but his legacy lives on as proof of how complicated power can be, as well as his unmatched combat prowess. Even though his kingdom didn't last, it had a huge impact on history and the ancient civilizations that came after it, leaving a mark that will never be erased. Thank you for joining us on this amazing journey through history. If you're captivated by historical stories and want to learn more, click the subscribe button and enable notifications.